All right, welcome back to our channel. So today I'm going to be finishing off the roof on this truck and re-priming the cab. And then I'm going to pull the windshield, make the horrible attempt of getting the dashboard out, sanding the inside of the cab down after I get the column out, hopefully painting the inside of the cab, but for sure the firewall today, maybe the inner fenders. And then I can start the more enjoyable stuff of this truck. The roof's been a big job. I'll take you here and show you what I've done. I've got the roof pretty smooth now and rounded off. I just got a couple spots right here where I got to sand it down a bit more and then apply the final filler. Over here I've applied the scratch putty to the scratches. And then a couple other little spots. And then it's a matter of removing this windshield. All right, so I'm just remasking the windows. I rock guarded the bottom of the cab to where I think it needs to be. I gotta wipe all that down, and then I'm gonna hit it with primer again to see where I'm at. But I do have all the oil canning out of it. That was a lot of work. Came down and fixed that up there. So now I'm gonna finish masking and I'm gonna wipe this truck up, or down. All right, it's back in primer. The primer started flashing on me on the other side, so I gotta sand it down again. This stuff is a real pain to work with. But it's on there. You can see where it started to flash a little bit on top. Basically dried as it was hitting the truck, so maybe less hardener. Anyways, so that's all primed again. I'll clean the guns right up and sand it and do it again. So I gave it another sanding real quick here. Got the orangey peely shit off. Found some more flaws. It just sanded down there. I gotta blow the cab off yet, but you know, I give it a quick sanding here. I got some other stuff I gotta do today, and then I'll be back on this evening and finishing it off and priming it one last time. I see I got a little spot there to fix yet, and then we're gonna start with the doors. Woo! Can't wait. No, I can't wait. I'm gonna pull the windshield up first. I think that's the biggest thing, and get that dash off, get the steering column out, pull the cluster out, sand it all down, paint it. Everything in here will be painted. Then I can put the dash back on after we try to recover this or save this dash. My dad put this furry stuff on it in the 90s. It's really not appropriate because it leaves a mess. Anyways, yeah. And then hopefully firewall. All right, so yesterday, it's the next day right now, I primed the cab and this primer flashed off really fast and it started to orange peel on me on the other side. I'll show you in a sec here. Okay, so it came out looking like rock guard, which, you know what, it is what it is. I'm going to sand this down and then I'm going to look for some more flaws in this roof. I think I see one now. Right here. Yeah, there's a wee bit of a flaw. You can see her there, wife. Right there. She's got to be sanded a bit more. Okay. So that might be the only bad spot left. By the Jesus. Yeah, that needs to be sanded down a bit more. Okay, that's fine. We'll do a quick sand and smash on this thing. And see where it goes from there. All right, I got the guns cleaned up. That was a real chore. I mean, I plugged them good. I think I wrecked one. Anyways, I just put the last bit of filler up onto the roof up here. Then I got some more sanding to do. And tomorrow night, re-prime this son of a gun. And then out comes this whole interior. Right, so next task, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get this undone. Get this window rolled back up. See what the hell that even does. And then, yeah, try and get that out so I can put one from another door in there. And maybe try to pop this dent out too. That's looking pretty bad over there. I mean, fuck. I don't even know if it's recoverable. Well, it is. Just how much do I want to do? All right, it's gonna be that or I'm gonna be switching doors. So So as you can see, I've got this back on. And I've got it hooked up in here, and the door lock's hooked up there, but I did not put the door key thing in there yet. I still have to give it a work there. Our next job is going to be pop this window up and then take the one from that door. So today I'm going to loosen this off so I can get the rest of this door latch thing out, and then I'm going to try to fix that broken piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm either going to swap that door piece onto this one, or I'm going to steal the handle from that, and that way I can put my door back on here. Yeah, so not even close, but I stole the rod off it. I'll use the other door. All right, so the wing window with the broken handle is out. You know, I could drill these rivets out and then pop this out and then take it that way. I might, we'll see. First things first, I'm going to try to get that one out now. So initially I was going to use this door because everything was good on it. I believe those are factory Jeep speakers. Those are coming out. I got to get out to get at that. First thing I'm going to do is roll the window down. And I'm going to take this doodad trim off and see what happens from there. So a couple of videos I watched show you unscrewing that, and then there's a screw on this, which there isn't. This is all riveted. I'm not drilling rivets out and re-riveting. I'm taking this whole thing, and then I'll get new gaskets ordered, and I'll put those on, and I gotta break the rest of that thing out. It's full of wood chips in there too, if you can believe that. I'm gonna get that out of there, see how we make out. So I just dropped the other one in. I've gotta move this part back here again tomorrow so that I can line that there glass up. But that'll be it for tonight. I'll be back at it in the morning and I'll hammer this back together nicely, and then we can start cleaning up this door here and sanding it and prepping it for primer, masking all that off in there. I'll straighten out this little whoop-de-doo here and right there, and then we'll sand it, prime it, and then I've got to fix this original door with the dent in it. And it's doable. It's quite doable. Not excited about it, but I was going to use these doors. That's not going to happen because of the difference of the door strikers. Yeah, the door strikers are different, and that's not really good with me. Unfortunately, 1980 and up, they have a bigger plate. I don't understand why it won't line up, but that's just bizarre. Okay, well, back at it again tomorrow. So as you can see, I'm starting to get it into place. It's on its track, thank God for that. I've got to install this piece which goes under here, and then I will tighten that wing window down. So when you put this part back together, remember that this is slotted. So one washer will have a slot on it and it goes on before the nut, etc., okay? So I also just changed the regulator on this door, which was broken. I wasn't going to reuse this door. I was going to go to this door, but it's 78 and older, and trying to line up the bolt holes, it's just going to be a pain in the rear. So I stole this window regulator because mine was rotted. It was rotted right out, as you can see, and it was broken, and it just wasn't working anymore. So it's gone. I'm going to try to fix this door. I have a door skin for the lower half because I have big holes there, so that'll be all cut off and removed. I'm going to first try to dolly all that out. I think it can be done. It's not like punched all the way in. But anyways, I am going to attempt to dolly it. Hopefully. Obviously I got a high spot here. It's got to be tapped down. and then correct it gently, very gently, and then try to massage that out and fix that little ridge there. And if it can be done, great. If not, I am going to cut the door skin off of option A, put the whole skin onto the middle part of the skin onto option B, because this door is actually bent on the bottom. Just realized that now. That's not so good. Well, I'm glad I didn't use that piece of junk. And then I got some spare doors to get rid of, and that'll be that. So that'll do it for this episode. Oh, and when you change your regulator, you need to get a new window strip that goes in the bottom of the track piece to make it stick together. There's the old one there that I pulled off, and then I used some window putty instead. Seems to work. All right, so today we're back on the doors. I'm taking that skin and I'm putting it on this door. All right, then I'm going to panel bond it in place and weld it. I just painted up in here a few minutes ago. It's dry already. I'll get started and we'll see how it works. Well, I can't use this one. It's full of Bondo. I'm either going to pound the shit out of that, or I'm going to take this door and steal its skin. This one I know has no Bondo. All right, so rather than grind everything off, blah, 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 I'm just peeling back the inner tabs as best I can, because I don't want to mess this door up. I need the skin off this thing. And then I'll clean it up, clean up this door, and away we go. All right, good morning. So I stole the skin from one other door to put on here. They don't make, excuse me, full door skins. So, and I have the lower piece for this if I need to use it, which I don't believe I do. Anyways, I stole the door skin because I didn't really feel like beating all the dents out of this door. I got a couple little ones right there that I can fix that. The main thing is I'm just going to weld my seam where I screwed up here, and sand it all down and do the filler work where it's needed, and hopefully get this thing primed today. And then I got to do the inside of the door. All right, we'll see how this turns out. All right, so the first coat of primers on these doors actually didn't come out too bad. I mean, a little not as clumpy as the last time with the other gun, but it does tend to spew out chunks. So you got to really pay attention to what you're doing. I got the back of my rad support primed, and I primed the back of the cab again. It puts out the paint way faster. Yeah, I'm just going to finish what I'm doing, hit the last part of the cab, and then that'll be it for tonight. All right, I think I got it. So I'm going to quickly throw some primer on this and on this door. That way I can see where I'm at with them. Well, as you can see in the photo or the video, it's a lot of work to get your dash out of this thing. I had to take the gauge cluster out, which is good because it was full of beautiful mud dauber nests. I gotta get that piece of plastic out. I took the glove box out. I'll get the old handle off there, and then I can figure out what size nut is on the inside of these. And there's the old cassette deck covered in mouse piss on the top of it. All right, welcome back to Canadian Haywire. Today we are going to pull out the dash. I just pulled the windshield out. I'll show you the mess. That is god awful. It still has some of the paint my dad put on there in 89, 90. It could be worse, but I'm going to vacuum all this crap up I saved the trim. I had to cut the rubber because the rubber was toast. It was so hard. Anyways, I'm gonna get cleaning this up right now. All right, so the windshield's out. It's a T30 Torx is what it took to get these out. On the internet, they're saying 10 mil. No, it's a T30 with a little washer on it right here. These are gonna have to be soaked in oil, cleaned up, and then use the vacuum when I put the dash in, if I put the dash in. Hi, all right, so I just finished sanding the dash down, giving it a quick shot of black primer. I gotta give it more coats, obviously. I think it'll clean up, and then I can seal it with some real primer, real heavy duty primer, after I got a couple little flaws to fix like up there. And then vacuum out the truck again. It's real hard to keep it clean inside because all this dirt, dauber crap, mud wasp, whatever you want to call them. Anyways, I'm gonna get back to what I was doing, and hopefully we can finish peeling this crap off down here, whatever that is. Looks like many years worth, and that'll be that. Then I can splash it. All right, I got the dash out. What a pain, and the screams were real, let's put it that way. There's some wiring in here that doesn't belong in this truck, obviously. I mean, like, Jesus, that obviously belongs here, but there's a bunch of speaker wire that I gotta figure out what the hell it's all going to. Get rid of it, get it out of there. That'll be coming up real quick. First, I gotta vacuum all this off, then I gotta sand it all, make a big ass mess. Fix up there. And then maybe, well, I'm gonna clean all that up too. That's a given. And then hopefully get this cab into sealer today and paint the inside of the cab. That's got to get done because winter's coming and I need this shit done. All right, be right back. Okay, so next update. What a pain in the ass this truck is. I took the speaker out because there is a bolt right there that I can't get at because of the speaker. It just makes life so great, doesn't it? Anyways, I gotta get this nut off of here, wherever it is. It's right up, right there. Anyways, ratchet kept getting stuck on the magnet, so I had enough. So that's gonna come out now, and then I can move along there, and then I can get back to this part where this one is just simply not willing to work with me today. So they don't show you in videos. There's a nut up there you gotta get to get this ashtray thing in, because right in the middle here, there is another bolt. So let's get started on that. So I got a few things to do before I get started. One is to do a big cleanup in here. I put a bit more primer down last night. It actually looks much better. I didn't want to half-ass this stuff. I'll give that a bit of a wet sand. Then I'll hit some, and this interior will be painted today. Gonna blow the roof off. I'm just debating if I want to put the sealer on the cab first or vice versa. All right. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. So I got the truck all in primer today. Tomorrow I'll do a little bit of cleanup work. Then I'll paint the interior of this truck in the morning at some point. And then I can finish up the bodywork on the cab after I splash the firewall. And do a little bit of cleanup around the window trim. And then work on the doors and hang the doors. And you know, it didn't turn out too bad. I mean, the bottom down here I got to work on a bit more, but now I've got primer on, I can actually see where the problem is. Yeah, not bad for using primer I had in storage for a few years. Can't believe it still worked. All right, we'll be back for the next stuff for tomorrow. All right, so here we are. I gave it a quick splash. I mean, I got more to do yet, obviously, but it is painted, so that looks 100 times better than it did when I got this thing out from the guy that had it in the field for 20 plus million years. I got it from the guy that got it from the field. It is coming along. It looks a lot nicer, better than that awful brown that had faded and rotted, and the yellowy tan and all that stuff. Anyways, this is a burnt orange. There'll be a little bit of cleanup to do in here, but I think overall it's a million times better. We got to put the flooring stuff down. I didn't really need to paint the floor, but I did anyway, so I wasted a bunch of paint there. Anyways, I might put another coat on after just for the hell of it, make it even nicer. But that is where we are at with that. Next thing to do today is the firewall. Okay. So I'm just hitting the firewall with burnt mango. It's pretty much the same as burnt orange. Some extra paint I had. Anyways, I'm hitting that off with that. First time in 3 years, it's got doors. Gotta align them yet, but what the heck? I'll get there. All right, so welcome back to Canadian Haywire. Tonight we're, excuse me, fixing up the dash, painting a few other parts, and I'll be putting them on the truck tomorrow. I'll show you what we've done to the dash. We got all the ugly fuzzy stuff off, and I used the color match to put it back to being tan. Well, I got the dirt out. It's gross. Anyways, I gotta vacuum this up. Then I'm gonna hit that with some electric clean, and then I'll get back to sanding that thing there and cleaning up that thing over there. I got no words. It's disgusting. This is what this is. This is gross. Okay, absolutely gross. Even in here, this is just awful. Kid awful. Yeah. I don't know what to say. I just want to go home and see my mommy now. So my next step is to pull the back of this cluster off. Hopefully I can get it apart. There's something moving in there. I don't know what it is, if it's a dead mouse or what the heck, but I guess you can say we're about to find out. So as I'm sanding, look, part of a fucking wasp nest popped out. I mean, freaking wasp nest. Okay, I started sanding it, and then I painted that side. I gotta let it dry. And then I'm gonna hit this with an actual sander. I just gotta get all that crap off of there. It was put on in the 90s when we painted this truck. My dad hit it with automotive paint. It may or may not come off, we'll see. I'll come back to it after that stuff dries. So I'm sanding away the steering wheel, and part of a mud wasp nest pops out on me. Great. All right, good morning, or almost afternoon. So I'm working on the steering column right now. I'm gonna clean it up. I'm not using the steering wheel. I don't know what's on this stuff right here, but I don't really want to try to save the old steering wheel because the leather is torn over here. I may send it and get it recovered at some point, maybe. We'll see. I do have a custom one for this, which will go on after I've reinstalled this. So I'm just going to try to sand all this garbage off of here. All right, welcome back. Today we are going to work on some fenders for the Jeep. I had some I'd fixed up. Didn't really like them. Well, they looked pretty good when I was done, but I bought another set that I'm going to go work with. They're pretty rough too, but not as rough as the others were when I started. So I'm going to fix these up. I got to get rid of the rust on them. Let me show you what we got to fix here with the first fender. So first things first, I hit this with rust converter. I'm going to fix that. Moving along to exhibit B, we got to fix those, and we got to fix that over there, and then we got to get the dent out of there, and we're going to wire wheel all this stuff, clean it up. I'll do the repairs, and then I'll paint the backside, then I'll paint the inside, or the outside. I'll hit it with primer, and that'll be that for that stuff. Dummy. Okay, driver's side fender. So I've patched the holes. I put a little piece of metal in and put some panel bond in to hold them. I'll let this cure for the day. And anyways, I put some black paint and I rocker guarded in there, or undercoated, so that it doesn't catch any dirt and debris anymore. I mean, the truck isn't probably ever going to go off-roading again, like it probably did centuries ago. We're going to have to pull these Who's It things here's out. And then I'm going to start on the other side of it. But while this one's curing, it can sit there for a bit. Once the paint's dry and all that, I will move it and we will start on fender B. This one's going to be a bit of a treat. That's obviously broken there and it needs to be re-bonded. Then I got a little bit of a ding at the fender there. I got the heat going on in here to warm it up because it's been freezing. Then I'll sand this out and then set up the paint tent in here, cover the bike 6 times. And I bought one of those enclosed paint tents. I'm going to set it up in here, probably right over there. And I'll prime the fenders after I finish fixing them. Alright, so I'm going to wire wheel up in there and all along here real quick, and then I'll hit it with some emery cloth, one of those little flapper wheel things. Then I am going to work on fixing these holes. Some are very thin, and I'd rather not cut a section out with the die grinder and put a piece in. I'm going to, I could do it that way. You know, the best way to fix these fenders is to take them right off here, and that's a lot of work, and this will get damaged. Don't want to do that. So I am going to clean it up and try to patch it from the back. I may have to go with panel bond. As you can see, there's a hole there. There's a hole there, and there's a whole bunch right there. Alright, so I straightened that out. That was meaningfully, terribly disgusting. I gotta straighten this out just a little bit more, pull this inward. Hard to do on this body stand. I straightened it out down there, it was all bent out. I got this looking a little bit better now. Okay. Enough that I can actually work with it a lot better, shape it off and fix it up. It looks worse than it is. It actually looks just all terrible. Anyways, I'm going to flip it over, wire wheel the inside, and start repairing. I can't do any welding in here because I have too many flammables in here. I don't want any sparks going anywhere and hitting jerry cans and stuff. So when it's warmed up enough outside, I'll go down in the carport and start welding. Okay, so this stuff's had time to cure. It did change color a little bit. Right here is where I'm going to start by focusing, getting that pounded. Try to straighten this out. Clean all of this up in here. Obviously I've got a couple holes to patch. Not a big deal. It's all doable. I'll have to bring the welder in when it warms up. It's a little cold out there, so I'm not going anywhere near there. That's got to be cleaned up and should be seam sealed in the crack. This here, yeah, gross. We'll fix that too. I can straighten that and I can actually weld that little tiny split that's in there. You see the little hole? We'll clean that up too. First things first is to wire wheel. So using a stripper disc, I've started stripping the scabby rust out of here, the scale. I quickly panel beat that a little bit there. Let's see how it looks on the other side. So as you can see here, this was all punched in. Obviously, I gotta pop this up here and reshape this. This is better here now. Now we've got to worry about this corner here. That's not going to be, it'll be a little bit of work, but we'll get it. It's the joys of working with used parts. I could have kept my other fenders I had, but for some reason I seem to like challenges because those are almost ready to go. Anyways, I'm going to flip this over and get back to straightening that edge out. Alright, so it's coming out. This stuff never happens very fast. I still got a little bit of ding in there. This is coming out now. Now I'm just going to finish trying to reshape this and then clean up the backside, fix those holes from the back, and then quickly clean all this up here. First things first, I'm going to finish what I started here. Then I got to strip this fender. Kind of try to prime it in. Then I got to unbend that too. So there's a bit of a twist here. They're not in the best shape, but they're not in the worst shape, these things. Anyways, I'll be right back shortly. It's hard for me to hold the camera and work at the same time. I think the first thing we're going to do is grind all the rust off. Alright, so here's where I'm at today with the fender. I got the pinstriping off. I straightened this was all punched in. It's not very good at the back there yet. I got more work to do there. This is now up. Still a little bit more work to do. I got to try to shape this a little bit better here. Yeah, that's ugly as hell. Ideally, these should be sandblasted and used as an emergency spare only because they are rough. Like, yeah, as you can see, there was some pitting here. Anyways, I'm going to see what I can do with these for the time being until I find a really good minty set somewhere. All right. Well, we were working on the fenders and I started playing around with the clutch, and lo and behold, when I'm pushing on the clutch pedal, that's quite a bit of play there before it grabs, and then there's that noise. So, not sure what that noise is, but it's something that I need to look at. So, I'm going to unbolt this cab. I'm going to lift the damn thing up, set it on blocks back here. I'm probably going to use a cherry picker and 2 floor jacks and block it up and move it so I can clear this hump and those things. And we'll roll the truck ahead, place it back down gently, and then I can slide this old transmission back and see what happens. I think that this linkage rod in here, first of all, might be a bit short. Second of all, it's plausible, quite plausible, that the damn bearing popped out of that shift fork, little pivot bearing, and that could be the clunky sound I'm hearing. It shouldn't be noisy like that, but who knows? It might just be a thing, but there's way too much play in that pedal. Go back into here again. That's more than 1.5 inches, and I can't figure that noise out. So I was tinkering around the manifold. The bolt in there was like completely hollow. It was burnt through. I'm not sure what's actually supposed to go in, if it's a bolt or not. Because BJ sent me bolts that are identical to those little guys. Nothing for those. So I'm not quite sure. The other side doesn't do anything either. But I gotta get that plugged up somehow, which I will be working on. Anyways, back to the brake lines, looping those in. You can see I've got that one secured. I gotta get some bigger eye loops for there and one over inside there. And then I'm gonna fix that one down there, right there. Okay. And then we start on the interior. Believe it or not, that actually came out of there. Everything else in the truck was rusted, seized before. Now I'm gonna find some little clips and I'm gonna hook all this up, tighten that up. Then we'll move to the next part on the front of the truck that I gotta do. All right, here's where I'm at. So I'm gonna put the clip on that. I am going to attempt to secure that with banding there because there's no thing like right there. Hopefully I can break that puppy loose and mount that with that. Then we will mosey along, mosey dozy, and see if we can't mount that one on the inside there for the brake line. It does need to be mounted. So yes, indeed, we gotta do something with that puppy. I can't have it doing that because it's gonna wear out. Anyways, then we'll fasten fuel lines together, make them one big freaking happy family. This one's gonna come over here somewhere. I gotta flare those yet. There's a ton of work to do. It won't all get done today. I've got the paint drying in here where I touched it up. Like over there where it was really light. And here, I didn't break out the mix spray. I bought a, excuse me, aerosol can that matches. Touched up the dash, the spot that I missed. When it's dry, the dash pad's going right back on. So first we'll start with these. All right, so the seam sealing's done. We've also got that hooked up in there for the shifter linkage now. I let seam sealer dry. What I found, I'll take you back over here. In this corner, when I bumped it, it broke loose from the floor. So we're gonna, after we're done our other monkeying around, we're going to pop that back out. I'm gonna have to make a new piece that I broke, to replace the one I broke. Cut that out and weld it in so it seals up to the floor properly from the bottom. You can't just do the top, it's gotta be both. What I had on there wasn't very good, so we'll fix that. But first, let's get this doodad fixed up here, tightened on, hook up the wiper motor to its part of the harness. Put the stupid dash on, the dash back on. Excuse me, I've got this cold that's going around, caught at work. And then we'll go to the brake line magic time. And then I'll tape off the front windshield after I get some heat back to the heater. We'll start putting some goodies back on there. After I got a little bit of touch-up paint work to do in here that I talked about the other day, I believe. I'm gonna get that done today after I heat it up. And yeah, let's get started. All right, so we got this cab sitting down back on its frame like I was saying. I damaged the back corner when I lifted it off. It was all to check the clutch. Today we're going to go underneath and seam seal properly. And then after that, once I get some heat in here, I'll fix that back corner that I screwed up. That's not a big deal. This here is gonna get all mounted and connected today, like it's supposed to be finally. And then I gotta move that bolt there on the other side. Once the lines are mounted, I'll finish touching up the frame paint. We'll come over here and we are going to, well, I guess we're going to bleed the master cylinder after I hook up that electrical box there and onto that. I'm planning to hook the brakes up, bleed them after I bleed the master cylinder, stuff that bugger on there, and then I'm going to put the dash in, the steering column, all the goodness back in there, inside the cab. And yeah, it's going to be a bit of a busy day. And then hopefully, God willing and praying that I can hook the heater box back up, mount the inner fender back on here, tighten this belt up, put the rad support back on here, which I rock guarded the inside quite well before I painted it. I'm gonna go through the list of stuff I gotta go through and we'll get started. Okay, his dash is in, speedometer gauge, thingamajiggy is in there. The holy smokes handle's on, loose. I'll be tightened up after, and we'll carry on in the morning. All right, I got the master cylinder on. Make sure when you bench bleed it, it's tight in your vise, because I was doing good and then it flew back at me and just soaked me. So that feels really great at this time of year. Anyways, so it's on there, it's tight. I gotta bleed the brakes, obviously. I pushed the pedal a couple times to get some fluid going through it. Seems to be working. Anyways, we'll see how it goes after when I'm ready for that. Meantime, we can move to step 9000 and put the steering column back in here. Hallelujah. After I get a couple other little doodads done. And then I'm going to bleed the damn brakes and finish off the repair on the back of the cab. And if it's warm like this tomorrow, El window is going in. All right, well, it's good morning again. I got the big heater running there to heat it up in here. So I'm trying to get things ready to put the column in, and I've noticed that these are fine bolts or fine thread down here, and I don't think I have the nut that goes on there anymore, so I gotta find one that fits, or find a way to get that bolt out of there, out of the rag joint, and find one, a similar bolt. All right, I'll bring you back shortly. All right, I just sat the master cylinder on. I just want to make sure it fits. I still have the original one, which actually worked, but this is brand new. I'm going with brand new to match the brake lines and everything else we've done. So I'm going to bench bleed it, and then make sure which line is which, bolt it on, hook it up, and then we can start bleeding the brakes after I put the steering column in. Thanks. So the steering column's back in. It's always a challenge with these ones to get the column back in. Come over here. Steering column is in up here. I got to put the collar back on. The steering wheel will be coming off, of course, once I finish putting the rest of the stuff back inside. It's been a busy day. Brakes are bled. Little bit by little bit, it's coming along. All right, good morning. Today, actually it's all afternoon now, kind of slept in a bit. So we got a lot of the interior done. I got the column in. I got to pull the steering wheel yet, put the other one on until we get this one cleaned up and restored. I'll take you for a walk around, and I'll show you what else we're going to be doing today. All right, thanks. So I got this matting stuff I'm going to put down on the floor for noise deadening. I'm planning to do pretty much most of the floor that way. As you can see, we got quite a bit done on the inside. So this morning I got up and checked the brake lines, and they're dry now. I had to reposition those puppies and then go along and check all the others. It's very important when you're doing your steering column on these to note there's two different bolt sizes, much like the bell housing in most of these trucks. A lot of things don't match. I gotta remove the wiper motor yet and paint it up. That's later. So my focus right now is to get that finished in there. I even got the ashtray back in. I don't know what I'm going to do with where the stereo used to be. I'd like to find a factory radio and put that in. I got to put the glove box back in yet. That's after. And then I'm going to put the drive shafty back on today. And I got some repairs to do to the cab. Hopefully I get to the back of the cab today. It's a little cold out, but we'll see how it goes. I'm really hoping by the end of the weekend, or end of the week, to have the inner fenders back on. That may happen today, it might happen tomorrow. I got a few things to do. I want to get the hinges on. I need the hinges on to support the inner fenders. The inner fender doodads. Oh, and look at that. I got to put some bolts in there. As usual, I get a little sidetracked and lost. But that's okay. I will manage. That's pretty much that stuff in a nutshell. And then I've got to, yeah, I'll throw these puppies on. It'll look much better. Yeah, I'll get started here. All right. Yesterday we worked on the truck. I had to retighten brake lines because I noticed the fittings were leaking a little bit. So today I'm going to try to flare the metal fuel lines. And then do like I did over here and put the inner fender on. It's a lot of work, obviously. I've got a lot to do. I went and fixed the other side of the cab in the corner where it had broken. I got to do the outside. We put some of that noise deadening stuff down. You know, it works pretty darn good. I mean, if you compare the sound of that to... So I'm going to put it all along there. I'm going to fix the transmission cover that I have for now till I get a new one. Well, I'm going to gob it together. It's got a hole in one corner there. So we're going to try to fix that. Not today, but today I'm going to focus on the fuel lines. I got a flaring kit. It's not something I've normally done. Maybe start installing seat belts. I don't know, but I'm going to focus on the little things here first with that and the fuel lines and clamping hoses up so I can put the inner on this side and mount all the electrical up where it's got to be that I can remember. It's been 3 years, so you know, memory fades after a while. And put the inner on this side and put the rad support in. Try to find the mounts where I put those now. Pretty sure I know where they're at. Install those puppies. Put the hinges on. We painted those black. I'm going to run the cable through for the hood latch. Hopefully in the next few days I can install the windshield. And then I can start sanding the rest of the cab down. Break the fuel tank out of the shed and shove it in here. Put the heater core on. Obviously that's a big thing I want done. So I can wipe all that part off. And start figuring out where the electrical goes to where. And I think I'll change that cluster and put the other cluster that I picked up. There's a lot to do. It's going to be a never-ending process for a bit, but little bit by little bit we're getting there. This steering wheel's coming out. I'm going to try to save it and get it back to its semi-tan color. Clean it up if possible. I think we can do it. Somebody painted it black at one time. It's gross. Yeah, and then finish securing these lines. I think these are all staying dry now that I've tightened the heck out of them. So it would appear nothing's wet there, nothing's wet there. So that's, I think I finally got my goal achieved there. Yeah. And then slowly work my way through. I'm gonna finish fixing the fenders and install them on early. I was gonna paint them off the truck, but I think I'm going to run a risk of scratching them if I do it that way. And I don't really want to do that. And then we'll, I've got different doors coming for this thing too. I'm still going to fix these up. If I don't use them, I'll just sell them. Yeah, so we'll get started on flaring with this flare kit that I bought, I believe, on Amazon. All right, so the lines are flared. Those two are flared. And let's bring it over here. This line and the other corresponding one are flared. Now I just gotta put hose clamps on them. I'll tighten up these radiator hose and heater hose. Then we'll look at next steps. All right, so I have the hoses all tightened up now. Fuel lines are tightened up with their clamps and they're flared. Show you what else we did here today. So I put more of the matting down here and on the other side. Start shoving the glove box insert in. I think tomorrow we'll be putting the glove box door on. And I'm going to put the good old seat belts in here. Probably put the seats in to test fit them again. Make sure if I got to drill new holes from putting the new floor in, I will. yeah, and then I'm gonna probably pop that cluster out, put the other cluster in, and do the touch up where I scratched it. I'll try to find the knobs for those controls, and yeah, that'll be that, and we can start with the next phases. Well, I started pulling the steering wheel apart, and it's full of mud dauber housings, which we're going to evict. So we're slowly turning it down. I'm going to pull this piece off. Then I think I'll get a puller and pop the steering wheel off. All right, so the heater core box is in. I got to put the nuts over there and tighten those up. Finish sorting out the wiring. Put the hoses on there where they belong. Put the heater motor back in. That can happen today. They get out of the box and put it on. And then we'll be pretty much done for the day. Okay, moment of truth. Will that fit into that? Let's find out. I should have checked several years ago, but I didn't. Today we'll find out. All right. So the radiator is mounted to the shroud, or the housing, rad support, core support, whatever you want to call it. I would lower it down. I would prefer if it was lowered down a bit, but the problem is the tank is probably going to hit that steering box and then it'll wear through. I may put a little bit lower mount in, we'll see. But that's the one they're calling for from BJ's. Kind of not sure if that's the right one to be using, but I'm going to look at my other supports, see what we can rigmarole here. All right, and then I got to remove the vent tube there so that I can bolt that up, because apparently it don't fit there. Or it probably does, but it doesn't want to. Go figure that one out. But when you bring it up close and you try to move this in, then it's gonna make contact, and you're not gonna be able to get that bolt down there into there. So I better just take it off for now and see what happens. So we got the front clip pretty much mocked up right now. It's a real pain in the fuck to use parts from another vehicle to fit on your vehicle, because these inner fenders, I don't know which Jeep they came off of, a Wagoneer, Cherokee, or J10, early J10 half ton. But the rad support's from a different year, so it doesn't have all the same holes in the right places. So we have to make some, like over there, for example, I have to make some modifications, which I will make and get installed. I gotta touch up that paint there now too. And then I can figure out how I'm gonna make the battery tray fit, because evidently it doesn't like this truck either, or these inner fenders. But it's the one for that inner fender there. It just doesn't want to line up onto this glorious battery tray. So then I gotta put the last bolt down there. Yeah, a little bit of work to do. I'll get this in, but essentially the front clip is mocked up now. Okay, so I've got the glove box sitting there. It's really cold in here today. It's like really cold outside. I'm going to loosen this column, because as you can see, the key's down the wrong way, and I gotta spin it and then reattach it, and then we can start on the front. So I got the column sorted out now. It's straight. What I need to do is take that off. Do I want to? Nope. Do I have to? Yep, I sure do. I do have a new steering wheel for it. It is not going on just yet. I've also got a bolt in the insert on the glove box. I'm like multiple steps at a time here today. Anyways, that's where I'm at right now. First things first, let's get the rad support down. Let's get that sorted. All right, so right away I ran into a big snag. I think I put the battery tray in incorrectly. I believe it's got to go sideways because, well, as you can see, it's not going to line up. So we'll fix that right now. All right, that'll be it for the day. The hinges are on, steering wheel's coming off. See you on the next episode. All right, so we're back at this again. Today we're going to pull the steering wheel out. Well, I bought a puller. Let's see if it works. I'll take you around and show you what we're going to do here. So yesterday I was working on this, wanting to pull out the steering wheel, but it wouldn't come out with by the puller. So I went out and I bought this animal here in my local parts store, steering wheel puller set. So we're going to open this up and see how we make out. So I've got my puller set up on here. I am going to try to use the impact on it to make her come out of there. We're about to see what happens. All right, well that took like 2 minutes. There's the steering wheel. There's its components. I'm going to see if we can get this thing cleaned up and sort of kind of try to restore it. I'll show you the one I have in the shop in a few minutes. Well, hello. It's late afternoon today. It's another episode of Canadian Haywire. I pulled out the steering wheel yesterday, so today I've got mine in the house. I'm going to try to restore it. So I'll show you the other two we have here that we're looking at. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make them work. So this is one of the steering wheels. This is another one, and somehow I got to figure out how to make that adapter plate work. The problem is the little shafty job here is very long, and I just don't think it's going to work. So I may have to just give in and restore mine. So until I get the steering wheel malarkey stuff sorted out, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the basics today. I need to install those two visors. I'm going to try to install what I have for seat belts. Then I'm going to come out here. I got to finish bolting this up. I've got to make a new hole for this because this is actually a different model of unit, and I'm not going to start cutting everything off. But I'm going to drill a hole right in here, bolt that up. Look how dirty this is, Jesus. Finish connecting all of that up. Put the heater lines on. Oh boy, then I gotta make some bolts connect for this puppy here. That's easy enough. I have a brand new one of those too. I'll be installing that. Then I gotta sort through this lovely mess and figure out what went to where and how it went there, because I can't remember. For some reason, I just can't remember. I don't know if this went onto that there or what. I do have a manual I can consult. I've got to tighten that down there. There is still the battery tray for me to absolve my issues with it over there. Don't mind the mess in here. It's kind of a pigsty. I will be cleaning that up. Anyhow, so this is where we're at in a nutshell with the steering wheels. I don't think that system is going to work. I wish it would, because boy, that's a really nice steering wheel. Once I figure that out, then I will install it, possibly, or just use the other one, the original. All right, so we're back at the steering wheel. What I've done is I've used the color match vinyl paint on that in the steering wheel. It's only until I get the adapter for the other steering wheel, the right adapter. And then after that dries and we reinstall that good stuff, we are going to carry on with these ugly things here. Obviously they're not original to my truck, but they're the best thing I could find at the time. There's a lot of work to do. Like right here, there's a little divot. It's got to be popped out. And down at the bottom where I fixed it with some weld and panel bond, I got to finish that. And we'll work on this thing as well. Well, I would say that this is looking better and better each day. We got, some fine finicky stuff to do, change the cluster, tighten up the dash a bit better. And then next step's going to be the seat belts. And right after that, headliner, all those goodies. I'm going to line up the seats here tomorrow so that they fit properly right after we get done with these crazy seat belts. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. So I cleaned up the transmission cover thing. I gotta paint it yet. but it's better than it was. There's the steering wheel drying with the vinyl paint. That'll be going on today. It's only temporary because I actually have a brown one coming to match. I got another heater cover here that's going to go on today. And that is because the other one was just a quick patch job on it. So this one's going on today. And we have a different battery tray we're going to clean up and repurpose. It's the proper one to fit this truck. Unfortunately, the other one I can't use. All right, let me get this cleaned up. All right, so I'm back down doing the cork work. When you put your steering wheel back on, as you can see, it turned out not bad. This little ring here is going to bolt through this piece and down into here. I gotta figure where I put the other screw that I dropped a few minutes ago. So I'll go find that one, tighten that up, and then we'll go to the next phase here. Well, I got the steering wheel on. I put the emblem on crooked. I can fix that. Yeah. So tomorrow I have to drop this column down so that I can hook up some wires. And I'm going to change that cluster to the newer cluster. I got to read the manual tonight to figure out on the back of the cluster there's a vacuum line. I believe it comes out the firewall. That'll be my next thing. But for now, I'm going to leave that the way it is. Hopefully I can get this dash to be a little bit tighter. Then I need to come under here and I'm going to put this trans cover back on. I'm going to do that in a few minutes. And that'll be that magnificent episode done. Okay. All right, today I'm going to refurbish these seat belts. I've got the pull down ones already sitting in the cab. So my goal is to make ugly into better looking. These are original. Good luck finding some. When I do find some, then I'll replace these, of course. But these are the original puppies for the truck. I've got one spare one right there. So my goal right now is to clean these up. I'll hit them with a color match fabric spray. Then go and install them once they dry. And the next thing we'll start on after that is installing the seats so we know where they fit and make sure they're bolted properly. So another note here, as you can see, we got everything matching pretty close actually. I mean, it's not perfect, but it gives you the idea of the look we're going for. Once the carpet's over, you'll never see the transmission pan that I got a little bit much seam seal on. I got to put all the sound deadening in. There's a fair amount of work to do here yet, but one step closer, boys. All right, I sat the seats in place. They're not mounted, they're just sat in place. It's a mock-up. I've got to get this tranny pan done, and then tomorrow we'll bolt the rest of the seat belts down. We'll clean these seats up. We'll bolt them in permanently until I get the carpet. As I said, we're a long ways from driving or anything like that, but this is where I'm at right now. I'll show you where the seat belts go right after that. But you can see how it's going to match, right? So I sat the center console in. The reason for this, I need to know where all these seat belts are going to go. I have a kind of a special feeling where they go. Yeah, so I got to line the holes up on this side. It's good to do a mock-up now, and then it all has to come out when I put a carpet in this truck, which isn't going to be too far off. I think in the next 2 months the carpet will go in. Then I got to put the old headliner up there. You're never going to see the roof from inside there anyways. Some guys just run without it. I don't feel good about doing that to this truck, so I'm not doing that. It's coming a long ways, of course. It's still endless hours to go. I got 2 different doors for the truck that are minty. It's going to save me some bodywork because that one's got a dent right there and a dent down lower that the previous owner or whomever put in there that I'm not going to be able to pound that out, and I'm not filling anything full of Bondo. Anyways, I'll get back to this. I'm going to grab the seat belts, lay out where they got to go, and yeah, and then we can start drilling and mounting and putting those in. All right. So I've installed the first part of the seat belt. I got to go and drill the bottoms out now to put those in because it's all new floor pan, so there's actually not a hole there. And then I have to follow suit with the other seat belts that got to go in here. But I'm going to clean this cab up first because it's a complete mess that I've made. Probably try to set the seats in there. All right. So to install these prongs, you just simply slip it over the top and it clips into the little holes. And then we got to bolt up the bottom one. Now, I believe it came in down here, which was torn right out when I got this truck back to the family. I got to decide if I'm going to go down there and install it or install it right there, which I may do. All right, so I've mounted that there. I've mounted this puppy here. There is this clip that's got to go over top. And it's got two little prongs, and those prongs are going to go in right here. All right, welcome back to another day in our shop here at Canadian Haywire. Today I'm going to be installing seat belts, and bring you along as we install those. And I'm going to install the transmission cover pan. All right, I'll get things set up and we'll get started. All right, on the seat belt, you can see there's a tab there. That tab is going to go right here. So I'm going to install it right now, and then I'll take you and show. I'm just going to set it in place, and then I'll show you what I did.